If you're looking for a home on the west side of Houston, chances are you've run across some great properties in Elyson and in Bridgeland. And what's not to love? The amenities are top-notch, the schools are highly acclaimed, and the homes themselves are beautiful. Today I'm going to help you determine the differences between the cost, the location, the schools, and the amenities so that you can choose which is right for you. Hi, I'm Carolyn Bauerschlag, a local real estate agent helping people just like you relocate from all over the country right to our great city. Let's get to it. You can't talk about the differences between neighborhoods without considering the cost, because that's a driver in every single buyer's decision. Now, if you're considering a home in Bridgeland, you can get your foot in the door for $300,000, and home prices go all the way up to $2.8 million. And conversely, over in Elyson, they are a little less expensive. You can get a home for a minimum of $265,000, and prices currently in 2025 have gone all the way up to $1.3 million. Now, that wide range in home price is largely driven by the sizes of the neighborhoods. Bridgeland at completion is projected to be somewhere in excess of 20,000 homes. And just for comparison's sake, that's 5,000 homes bigger than Cinco Ranch is right now. Elyson, on the other hand, is projected to be substantially smaller. So it's projected to be somewhere around 6,000 homes at completion. So when you have fewer homes, you usually see less variation in price, whereas in Bridgeland with 20,000 homes, you can build something literally for anyone. Now, something that's similar between the two are going to be the property taxes. Now, Bridgeland started construction sometime in 2006, 2007, and it's still going through new construction. And a lot of times what you see is that tax rate come down over time, but in Bridgeland, the minimum tax rate is still above 3%. So you're right at 3.01% for property taxes in Bridgeland, and that value goes all the way up to 3.34% as it stands in 2025. Now, of course, the homestead exemption will get you a lower effective tax rate, but that still is a very substantial consideration when you're moving into the neighborhood. Now, in Elyson, the taxes are uniformly about 3.25%. 3.25% is about what you can expect when you're buying a home over in that area. So not really going to get a tax savings whether you choose Elyson or Bridgeland, and I would say that is what I would consider on the steep side. Kind of anything above 3% for property taxes catches my attention as a real estate agent. So just be mindful of that if you're considering both neighborhoods. Now, when it comes to HOA dues, in Bridgeland and in Elyson, they're going to be mostly the same. So in Bridgeland, they're about $13.50-ish, depending on which particular pocket of Bridgeland you're in. They vary just a little bit, maybe by $50, $60. And over in Elyson, they're going to be about $13.85 for the year. So no real savings depending on which particular pocket that you're going into. I do want you to be mindful though, if you are in a neighborhood or a little burb of Bridgeland that's like behind a gate, or has more amenities than some of its neighboring sections, your HOA dues are going to be more substantial. But buy-in price for your basic HOA dues in both neighborhoods, like the tax rate, is about the same. Now, an important thing for you to know about cost is that because both of these neighborhoods are in the middle of their life cycle of their build out for how big these homes are going to be, or how big these communities are going to be, there are great new construction deals at the time of this video, which is December of 2025. So what we're seeing is a lot of builders really slash their prices due to sort of economic condition to try to get people incentivized into moving into the neighborhoods. So from a cost perspective, I would say for the next year or so, you're probably going to see some pretty substantial deals coming down the new construction pike. Resales having to be more competitive as well. So even though the tax rate and the HOA are a little on the elevated side, you might get a good deal right now on price. Now, you can't talk about the differences between neighborhoods without talking about location. And I would say both locations on Bridgeland and on Elyson are a little bit more challenging than some other master plan communities. Now, between the two, I would say that Elyson is a little bit more challenging than Bridgeland. And what I mean by that is that Bridgeland is a little further north. It's a little closer to 290. So the distance that you would have to travel to get to 290, I would say, is not as significant as what you would have to travel to get to either I-10 or 290 from Elyson. Now, 99, the Grand Parkway, connects I-10 to 290, and that unfortunately is a toll road. So if you are going to commute on the Grand Parkway, every time you leave your neighborhood, you are going to pay which I know can be really irritating to a lot of people. Now, Bridgeland is largely, it's not uniformly, but it is largely on the east side of the Grand Parkway, and it extends all the way over to Fry Road. So you've got the Grand Parkway, you've got Mason, you've got West Green, then you've got Fry. So all of those run north-south, and all of those are ways for you to kind of get in and out without having to get on the Grand Parkway. Whereas with Elyson, Elyson is pretty much on the west side of the Grand Parkway without kind of the same egress-ingress as Mason, West Green, and Fry, right? So what you're mostly going to do is get on a toll road when you're coming out of Elyson regardless. With Bridgeland, I would say you have a little bit more to choose from. I would say both are challenging from a location perspective if you are going to have to commute centrally. So if you are going to commute to downtown, I would probably personally choose Bridgeland just because you could get to 290 a little bit faster. But even once you get on 290, if you're going downtown, you got to get on 610 and then you got to mosey on into downtown some way. So there's no straight shot there. If you're in Elyson, you have to travel pretty much equidistant to either get to 290 or get to I-10 to get to downtown. And so for most people, I would say that is a hard pass. So those are two things to just kind of keep in your back pocket. Now, from a location perspective, Elyson has a really good looking commercial build out that's going in and around it right now. So like there's a Target, there's a Lowe's, there's a lot of commercial office space like for small businesses that are going in. You've got your donut shops, you got your Chick-fil-A, like a lot of that is coming in and around 529 and the Grand Parkway, which is the main intersection for Elyson. With Bridgeland is a little further north. They don't have like their own little shopping center per se, but they are directly adjacent to the Town Lake Boardwalk. And the Town Lake Boardwalk is kind of like the community hub, I would say, of Cypress. So you've got like the really pretty green lawns, you've got outdoor shopping spaces, you've got restaurants, you've got bars, and all of that is over in Town Lake. Elyson doesn't have that. So there are some pros and cons to both. It really is just going to be dependent on how you live your specific lifestyle. Now, of course, if you're living all the way out on the west side, a major draw to either neighborhood is going to be the amenities that these master plan communities have to offer. And there are some key differences between Elyson and Bridgeland. So let's touch on Bridgeland first. Bridgeland, as I mentioned before, is going to have about 20,000 homes at completion, which means they have to have a lot of different amenities to service this massive population. So as it stands right now, there are over 70 pocket parks that are currently in existence. So that's going to be playgrounds, swing sets, green spaces, like plenty of space for you to run and play. And they have 4 major amenity villages. It's kind of like one for each one of the existing neighborhoods right now that are complete with fitness centers and pools and waterways and walking trails and like beautiful green spaces. So Bridgeland, I would say, is far more robust than Elyson is going to be even at completion. Now, Bridgeland is developed by the Howard Hughes Corporation, and if you're familiar with them, they're the ones who are responsible for being the brainchild of the Woodlands. Now, the Woodlands' claim to fame is that it was one of the first, if not the first, master plan community in the Texas region. And the Woodlands is gorgeous, and like everything about the Woodlands is idyllic, right? And so the same brain power and skill set behind the Woodlands is who is making Bridgeland. I personally am a huge fan of the parks and areas. Like whenever I show over there, it really is just serene. The landscaping that's been done, I think is supposed to kind of integrate nature pretty heavily. A lot of work has been done in the name of conservation. So like rainwater recycling or like the retention ponds are made to be like marshland so that wildlife isn't completely run out of the area. So they're really trying to be responsible with water, flood control, be environmentally friendly. And I think it shows, right? So like if you're looking to kind of like have a sigh of relief, you're going to really enjoy the nature that you encounter in Bridgeland. Now, that's not to impugn Elyson at all, right? Elyson is wonderful and it's going to be. It's just a smaller community. So because it's 6,000 homes instead of 20,000 homes at completion, they're not going to have as many pools and fitness centers and quite as many parks, right? But Elyson is developed by the same people that did Cinco Ranch. So Newland Communities is putting this together, and you can be sure that their standards are very high. So when you drive through Elyson, it really looks beautiful. They have 2 main amenities villages right now. So there's 2 different pools that are like in the middle of like 2 different like villages with like fitness centers and clubhouses and pavilions and picnic spaces, event lawns. So think 2 instead of 4 over in Bridgeland. Tons of walking trails. They do have little puppy parks, so dedicated dog parks over in Elyson as well. I would say there's not quite the same nature focus as there is over in Bridgeland. Like when I'm in Bridgeland, I feel very much like, oh, this was designed for me to feel like I'm out in nature. Whereas in Elyson, I think it's more like Cinco, which makes sense because it's the same developer, where it feels very much like this is a really nice manicured green space that I'm looking at right here that's adjacent to all of these lovely houses. So a little bit different between the two. And obviously a huge consideration for anyone debating the differences between Elyson and Bridgeland are going to be the schools, and these two are very, very different. So let's cover Bridgeland for just a moment. Bridgeland, as it stands, has 3 elementary schools that the community services. So if you live in Bridgeland, you need to check your zoning patterns or check with your friendly neighborhood realtor if you have your heart set on a specific elementary school. There's one junior high that everyone goes to, and then there's Bridgeland High School, which is right smack in the middle of the community. And Bridgeland is popular, it's kind of like chicken or egg. Bridgeland High School is one of the most popular high schools in all of Cy-Fair. And I think one begets the other, right? Like the neighborhood is wonderful. It attracts a lot of families. The families are involved in the school. Like it just kind of is a serendipitous kind of happy little effect going on there. So Cy-Fair ISD schools are on the east side of the Grand Parkway in Bridgeland. Now, coming soon, on the west side of 99, Bridgeland is starting to extend over into the west side of the Grand Parkway. And that is largely going to be Waller ISD. So if you are wanting to go to specific Cy-Fair schools, you need to be very careful about checking those school zoning maps. And if you're confused at all, I will help you pick up the phone and talk to the admin or the central admin offices to make sure the school that you're wanting to be zoned to is going to be Cy-Fair versus Waller ISD. So Waller is just a very explosive growth area right now, and their school district is going to take quite some time, I think, to catch up to the demand that's happening in that entire county. Now, Elyson is completely different. Elyson is further south, and it is mostly in the Katy ISD territory. So there's a little squeak of Elyson that is zoned to Cy-Fair ISD, but it's like a tiny, tiny little rectangle that's on the east side of Peak Road and butts up against the Grand Parkway. The vast majority of Elyson is zoned to Katy ISD, and Katy ISD is a huge draw for people that are relocating to the area. Their friends, their family have all told them, if you're going to move out to the west side, go to Katy ISD. It's a destination school district, right? So I personally think both are fabulous choices. The brands, if you will, of both school districts, especially Bridgeland High School in Cy-Fair, are really very strong. Bridgeland High School has been around a lot longer, though, than any of the schools that are in Elyson and Katy ISD. So that's something to kind of put in your back pocket, too. So in Elyson, you have 2 Katy ISD elementary schools. That's going to be McElwain Elementary or Boudney Elementary, and both of those are very, very new. You're also going to have Nelson Junior High and Freeman High School, and they're also very new, like within a couple years of being in existence. So like if you're going online and Googling, you're going to find far more information about Bridgeland High School, like stats, academics, performance, test scores, all of that. And you're not going to find as much on the Katy ISD side because the schools are just so young. So that doesn't mean that they're bad at all. It's just they haven't been around long enough for them to develop a specific reputation. But what we do know is that Katy ISD's standards for any of its schools is to be an A-rated school. So the teachers that they hire, the programs that they have, the extracurriculars, even if they're not proven, so to speak, at these particular campuses, are going to have to abide by the Katy ISD standards and way. Whether you're searching for a home in Bridgeland or in Elyson, you're going to find wonderful choices. And hopefully this video here today helped you determine which might be the right for you. If you're considering a move to the west side, I would love to be a real estate agent. And if you found value in what you watched here today, make sure to click the link below and subscribe. We put content like this out every single week. See you soon.